I feel that there's a lot of blurred lines between what home means to people. Is it where your family currently lives? Is it where you were born? Is it where you've lived? Is it what you feel closest to you?
Well, I was born in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur. My mom was born in Penang, in Malaysia. And my dad was born in Germany, in Munich.
So I was born in Luxembourg, and my dad was born in London in the UK, and my mom was born in Normandy in France. And on my dad's side, my grandfather was born in Karachi, which is now Pakistan.
Okay, so I was born in the UK, in England. My mother was born in Ireland, but just right on the border with Northern Ireland. And my father was born in South Africa.
Sure, I was born in Bangalore, India, and my parents were born in the same place.
My dad was born in Hong Kong, and my mum was actually born in Beecroft in Sydney.
So I was born in Switzerland, in the capital Bern, and also both of my parents were also born in Switzerland. But my dad is from the German-speaking side of Switzerland, and my mom from the French-speaking side, so there's already a cultural difference right there.
My parents were born in the Philippines, but I was born in the US.
Moved to New Zealand when I was 2 years old, and I spent from then until now in New Zealand schools.
I went to a little Catholic school in England until I was 7, and then we moved to Copenhagen for 3 years. I went to an international school, lots of embassy kids and military kids. And then we lived in Connecticut in the US. Then we went back to England, so I went back with this American accent. It was, boys used to sing "Bye Bye American Pie" at me. It was horrible. So I did that for 2 years, and then we came to Australia, and I finished my high school here.
I went to a German school in Hong Kong. It's called German Swiss International School. And I went there for primary school, secondary school, and then I went to University of Hong Kong. Quite a patriot.
If someone asks me where I'm from, it's quite interesting because they're usually quite confused because obviously I'm not white, but also I don't have a very distinctive accent. So they're usually quite confused where I'm from. So in a way, I'm just trying to clear up their confusion. I don't really feel like, very... I don't feel any flustered or anything like that. I'm not like confused over Christ. I just tell me I was born in India, but I grew up in New Zealand. So I think it's a pretty normal thing for me.
At the moment, if someone were to ask me, I would say Hong Kong, because that's where my family are residing. But I know that throughout my years, when people would ask me such a question, I would feel a bit uncomfortable and then perhaps stutter for a second and then either choose to give them a one-worded answer just to cut it a bit short, or if I felt that the person was interested in the conversation further, give them a bit more detail. Home for me is Hong Kong, but also France because that's where my mom's from, and the story goes on.
When people ask me where I'm from, one of the positive things I think about having my experience is that I can change my answer depending on who I'm talking to.
It's not, the question where are you from isn't really a sore point for me, but it's when people say, where are you really from? Because, I was born in Hong Kong, my dad was, and, it's a big part of who I am as a person. It's like saying you're not Australian or you're not American enough.
When someone asks me where I'm from, I actually get a bit annoyed at this stage in my life. And usually because I know that they've maybe picked up on my accent, so I don't look like I'm not from Australia, typical Australian, but they've picked up on that I don't sound typical, but I don't actually have an English accent either, so I just find it all a bit annoying to explain my whole history and why I say things a certain way.
People are very surprised when I mention that I'm from Hong Kong. They usually would expect a more Chinese-looking person to be from Hong Kong, but I believe that anyone can be from anywhere. They don't have to look a certain way.
When I was doing my master's, there was one guy who used to hang around with me kind of stuff at the start, and at the end he's like, Shazad, I've heard you say you're from 5 different countries to 5 different people. which one is it?
The place in the world I feel the deepest sense of home. I'd say there are some rural places in India where I really feel like this is very peaceful and very, very calm, and I feel very natural, I guess, there. So there are some places, but I don't think I identify with anywhere particularly. When I go back to New Zealand from Australia, I definitely feel a real relief. I know that, but I never felt that when I was living there. So I guess it's just wherever you return to once you've gone away.
I feel the greatest sense of being at home actually right here at sort of in Sydney, but in this area of Sydney University and the kind of the surrounds. I was very much the English girl when I was in high school, and I really felt like coming to university was an opportunity to sort of get rid of that in a way. And when I went to South Africa on exchange, it was the first time that people really referred to me as Australian. So being away from Australia, but sort of representing an Australian university, was the first sort of time where I really identified as that. And so then coming back here and having, knowing people and feeling really a sense of belonging to this university was actually where I felt the most at home.
I think, meeting other third culture kids. I had a lot of friends who were, I guess, third culture kids back in high school. And the most interesting thing is how much you still keep your old culture and how much you adopt the culture of the place that you're living. I think everyone has a different balance, and I think that's very interesting to see as well. It depends on how strong their family connections are, or their own personalities and things like that. But I think it's always very important. I've always made friends with people who strongly stick to and are very proud of their culture from where they're from.
So working at International House and getting to meet third culture kids has helped me so much. I only heard the term third culture kid through an interview of an applicant coming to International House. So they described themselves as a third culture kid and described what that meant. And I had this moment of, that's me! Oh, I didn't even know there was a term for it. That's me. So it's been wonderful in terms of getting to identify and understand that there's a sort of concept for me. And then actually getting to share those experiences. And then as I've progressed at my time here, being able to mentor those students who really have that feeling that they don't belong anywhere, or where, asking those questions, where is home? And I've sort of been able to ask, is that really that important? And questioning those assumptions that they somehow lack because they can't identify with one culture or one nation.